Artlist.io.
Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait. I just had a fan hit me up from Kuwait. Told him this would happen and we not a minute late. Seen him down bad, now they tryna hate. Same ones try to hit me for the raise. Got a mill, now they coming with a place.
Music licensing reimagined.
I'm a Don just like the Perrier. It's one time when I'm looking at a face. On the low like I'm pushing up the pace. Told him come down and I'll meet him at a gate. Got a check and I bought myself a place. They get some money and they blow it on bait. I don't flex but I'm pushing all the weight. Told them all I swear I got it's what it takes. Phone started jumping, what a day. Swear to God I need it now, I can't afford to wait.
Hello. Happy Friday. Jerry, what's going on, man?
What's up?
Happy Friday to everyone here watching today. Jared, how are you, man?
Yeah.
How's the week been?
It's been a good week, man. I went to an ag show this last weekend, and I didn't realize today's Friday.
Yeah.
I'm a little lost this week, but I'll be honest with you, just some great content, some incredible things happen in the ag community.
I love it.
Obviously transportation is a big deal in the ag community.
It is.
Huge. You don't think about the ag community sometimes.
We see a lot of that in our town we live in, so yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It was funny. I had a conversation with a guy, and I thought this was pretty entertaining. But he said that he was a recovering dairy farmer. I'm like, well, I'm a recovering freight broker, so what is that?
Same.
It's just kind of comical, like just
That's
the way he said it. I was like, you're what? And it was just kind of comical to talk to hear about that. But something that I thought was probably the most interesting thing, that community, that industry, with us involved here, is just going through the same stuff that we are.
They are.
The fraudulent aspects. Is the younger younger age kids, are they coming into that industry or not? There's some interesting stuff going on.
Yeah.
And so it was a very relatable conference. I loved every second of it.
I love that. I love that you mentioned like the youth, because I don't know, from the town I'm in, we don't learn about freight brokering or really farming in high school.
Right.
Heck, I didn't even know how to balance a checkbook in high school because they didn't teach that. But I wish they taught, freight brokering and things like, agricultural in high school to give you an idea what else is out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I know, I can't remember who I was talking to. I had a teacher from North Carolina, and they actually run a class at a college, and it's freight brokering class. And I was like, this is the first time I've ever heard of this. Like, you go to college for a freight broker.
Yeah, we got a call the other day. We're obviously in the middle of nowhere,
right?
Gary, Nebraska. Anyone wants to come, we'll take you out for some Mexican food. But we got a call the other day from a local college that's starting, a local junior college that's starting a freight broker program.
Yeah.
And
I love to see
I said, hey, if we can give back, we would.
Right.
And Nate and I'll grind up there and do a show in the middle of class. I don't know how that'll go.
I'm here for it. I love to see that, though.
Yeah.
Just kind of putting that out there, because the freight broker job, I think it's an amazing place to be at. It's definitely a grind, but I think if you can get in front of the right people and give you that support, that program that they're putting on, I think you can see a really good turnout.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I thought that was interesting about my week, if you were going to ask, what was the theme of the week? I got an opportunity to talk to a lot of different brokers even after the conference, and when you play in the spot market, right? Boy, you've really got to be due diligent about keeping track of quoting and understanding the market. There was a lot of weather in America over the last couple weeks.
Right.
Ice storms down in Houston, which is wild, by the way. Can you imagine being in Houston, you're in flip-flops every day, and hey, honey, the pool's froze over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you're seeing some real interesting dips in the market right now with quoting spot market freight, right? Not every shipper has the amount of volume that these huge shippers, they live in the spot market. How much does this cost today? Right. And so the brokers I was working with, this was one of those weeks where they bid on a lot of spot market freight and didn't get it. Just struggled.
It's crazy how a winter storm like that can just be like, okay, well last week it was at this rate, so I'm going to go ahead and bid it again like that.
Yeah.
But taking into consideration of the crappy weather.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Rates are different.
Rates are different, and I think this is when it's important to really focus on trying to find. Boy, this was another interesting success, but this is when it's different from posting it up on a load board to making some phone calls. Yeah, Alejandro, what's up, brother? What's going on? It's good to see you. I hope you had a good week. I hope it was productive. But it was definitely one of those things where that same broker that I'm talking about, bidding on a lot of freight, he did win a couple loads, ended up covering one of the loads off, making some calls to local carriers off eCarrier Check.
Love that.
And what I think is unique about that is it just kind of puts things in perspective. You can get carriers a lot of different ways. This particular way was quick, painless. Guy liked the rate. You knew as a local guy that didn't have to deal with double brokering. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yep.
What we saw this week.
Yep.
But wild week. The other thing I think, we're at that point where it's February. It's January 26th, right? It's grind.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got to be disciplined every week with your pipeline. 1 week off, the pipeline goes back to gel or crap, right? You got to be disciplined. And that is, even at this show, this ag show, they talked about, what are we doing right now, with our farms, with our equipment, with our trucks, things like that. And it's like, yeah, you've got to be doing maintenance. They go hard all summer long, right? Spring to fall. Well, you probably better go hard on all your equipment that you just wore out in the between. You better go hard with making sure you've got, all the different aspects of your farm taken care of so that it's up and ready to roll.
Right.
Every minute counts, every day counts in the farmer's world. Right. It's the same thing in brokering and in trucking and that all
100%.
aspects.
I mean, any position you hold in this or in the logistics, we had that interesting question the other day. Well, what happens if the market drops another 30% and you're kind of running around with your head cut off? But if you take into consideration your costs, where your business is at, is it diversified, or do you have one customer?
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a lot of things that you need to take into place when things are going good. I think you need to live a little like things aren't going good, right? Just to keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I don't know. That's just where it's at.
Rainy day funds are really important.
Great, yeah.
You know what I mean? Something that is kind of weird though. And if any economists want to come on the show, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Just dial in. We'll take you.
I'll give you my number.
I tell you what, they show tried yesterday in your YouTube to answer your question. Tried it twice. It's the guy that I asked a question to. Yeah. Well, try it again and let me know. That's kind of interesting. We're definitely trying our YouTube channel. It's Nate and I answering these questions.
Yeah.
And
Stay
so
with the phone.
Yeah, exactly. It is who we are. You get both ends of it. Doesn't matter. But we're trying to ask more questions of, what do you guys want to hear us talk about and see and like it. And so,
even who you want us to bring on.
Yeah.
And we're always fishing for.
We are always
more
fishing.
people to
So
bring on.
let us know, because we do this show for you guys. So, what were we talking about?
Rainy day funds, maybe.
Oh, Tire Killer.
Tire Killer, yeah.
Tire Killer. Oh, this is what I was talking about. The economy.
Yeah.
Economy. Let me fast forward a second. It's wild. Like all these GDP reports keep coming out that, economy's growing, all this at the office and watching. Well, I'm glad you're on, man. All this GDP, everybody's like, hey, look at this, everything's fine. And then, we're just constantly hearing of friggin' layoffs.
Yeah.
Layoff. It doesn't matter the company. I saw TikTok laid off, eBay. It's just wild. Like, I mean, I heard of a brokerage down in the Southwest this week that had to do layoffs.
Jeez.
And so it's like nobody's safe. We've got to be disciplined, or you're going to be that guy.
Right.
Yeah,
I was cutting some videos up the other day, and I was doing one with Chase from Swan. Shout out to you, Chase.
Shout out to Swan.
But
good company.
One of the videos when I was listening to the whole video, cutting it up, one of the things he said stuck with me. And when you sit at your desk, think about what you're doing. Is what you're doing making you money, and you got to think about your why. So when you clock in, whether you're at home or you're going into your office, you got to think about, what am I doing? Is this going to help my company, help myself? That just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I took that to, personally, like, hey, what am I doing?
Yeah.
To help build the carrier chain,
Yeah.
to help just provide supports or whatever it may be. But that's really where you got to be at. What you're doing now, is it going to help you going in the future?
Yeah.
Making money.
Yeah, you're either in sales or sales support, and
Right.
either one of them are based around revenue.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kristen, what's up? How are
Happy
you?
Friday.
Hope your week was good. Tell us about your week. Did you have a productive week? Yeah, the same with you, Tom. What were your wins for the week? How did you make applesauce out of apples? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's make sure we're dicing it up. I know you had a list of questions. I'd love to go
Yeah.
through them with you.
And I love picking your brain,
that's
because
fair.
the funny thing is, I always see these comments on our YouTube videos, especially the live sales calls. I promise you, they're not staged.
No.
I wish we could have someone from the audience come to our studio,
Just be right
watch
here.
this.
Just
I
stand right
promise you, they're not staged. This guy really does do it on the go, on the live. But I love picking your brain, because you've spent many years in this industry. You've seen a lot of ins and outs, kind of like Cody from AMZ Trucking.
here.
He's done it all.
Oh, that guy was incredible. If you haven't watched our Wednesday,
You have to.
the value on that show was over the top.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
excited
it was
for that.
incredible. I mean, you're just picking apples off trees.
For sure.
I mean, it's like, oh, I'll take a bite of that.
For sure.
It was a wonderful show.
But one of the things I was
Big
thinking
apple guy
about,
today.
I know you are.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Apples, they're good for you, man.
Yeah.
But one of the things I was thinking about last night was, in your time of brokering, what are the biggest changes that you've seen evolve in this industry? How did you adapt to some of these? I don't know if technology was huge when you started brokering.
Stop it.
I was still in high school when you were brokering.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that.
But talk about some of the, how has the industry evolved from your first year till even now? I know you're not brokering, but how's the industry evolved? What have you seen?
Wonderful question. By the way, DIY Semi, I don't know who you are, but I am really interested to hear what you do. Just got recommended to me. Interesting show. Thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what you do. Are you carrier, you're broker, dispatcher? What do you do? Let us know. We'd love to know. Now I want some Busch Light apples. I get it. I mean, it's 11 o'clock and I'm ready. Let's go. I mean,
As long as it's okay with your boss, get after it.
all right, let's get into this question.
Yeah.
So when I started in freight, by the way, I came from the diamond industry. I used to work at Tiffany's, right? And so when I started in freight in 2008, just a little rhyming.
I think I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
But okay.
You bastard. So anyway, so when I started in 2008, it was kind of funny. I actually started, I brought all my fancy suits home from Tiffany's, and I was an outside LTL sales rep for a regional LTL company. Right. I'm a carrier broker as well as a YouTube channel education base. I love that, man. That's awesome. Maybe we should connect. Hit us up at support@ecarriercheck.com. We can connect, do a little show together. It'd be kind of fun. I'm into the education space because that's what we do the show for, is to help people out. We didn't have a BlackBerry. We didn't have a CRM. I had, if you saw me, this is the greatest thing ever. I would leave the office with folders that I created.
Interesting.
Like I created, those white, the yellow manila folders.
Yeah.
So what I did is I had this sheet, and it was like my paper CRM. Who's the contact? Who's the phone number? I don't think I was catching emails at this time.
Okay.
Judge me for what
Fair.
it is.
No, that's okay.
But I just would, and then I had a bunch of lines, and I would date, I visited this company, and we
Right.
talked about this lane.
Right.
So then the next time I walk in, I'm like, hey, you still shipping to Illinois? Maybe I can quote you on this one next time. You know what I mean? And so, that was my first experience in selling in this industry. And I worked for this incredible family-based company called Nebraska Transport. Incredible people. I knew the founder, the grandfather. He took me to my first Husker game. The dad was incredible and helped me grow as a leader and a man. And then their son is who I get to hang out with a lot. And really great family, really good, just good people, But from the sales side of things, it's amazing. I mean, we went through this right here in 2009.
Right.
And I took over as a sales manager in 2009. Bad idea, right? We struggled with technology. We just got BlackBerries into the sales,
Right.
phone. But my strategy over the course of from 08 to like 15 was all very similar.
Okay.
It was all email. You could get email responses if you wrote at least a decent email.
Right.
If you could write, you could get an email response. Right. 08 to 15, I could email anybody, and I have proof. I can show this to somebody if they ever wanted to see it. I emailed the CEO of FedEx. I emailed Fred Smith and got a response.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you could email anybody. I think people were just enamored, like, it's email. This is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
You checked your emails today?
Yeah.
Now we get hundreds of emails, thousands, right? And so we, once 15 hit, 16 hit, then I started to kind of focus more on, I need to get a little bit better in sales on this thing.
Right.
And that's when I've always been a student and just trying to learn anything I can when it comes to sales. Right. And that's not only tonality, but spacing and mimicking and mirroring and the whole kit. But boy, I tell you what, the best advice I've ever gotten is you're only as good as the questions you ask. And from 08 to 15, my questions were all the same.
Right.
I got a truck. 15 to COVID, damn it. Sorry. I didn't mean to say it, YouTube. Sorry. 15 to then. Man, I tell you what, I had to get really good right here. Cutting my teeth, picking up the phone, and I was terrible at it.
You're a big mirror guy, so having to adapt to now mirror over the phone, I bet that was a big change for you because you like to do face-to-face contact.
I do.
You're a big face-to-face guy.
I love
Which I love
face-to-face.
about it.
I love face-to-face. I like to shake a hand. I'm a little bit old school in that way.
Right.
But I got to say that being over the phone has allowed me to understand people quicker.
Right.
You can catch their tone or their unintentional body language through the voice and their timing and the speed. It's been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a big fan of, the one thing too, also just for the sake of it, these last 2 years, 3 years, eCarrier Check's been growing. We're doing what we do, but we get an opportunity to make calls for brokers and carriers. We've done some for them. You've really got to be fully loaded and fully prepared on every phone call, and where I used to just lack it, right? And so has my strategy changed? Absolutely. In fact, I'm always reading books to try to catch the next wave of, hey, have you tried this little technique, right? And so that's really important, that you're always adapting. You're always flexible with the way you do it, but you're always with the intent. I've always been a big fan of, if I give enough value to a shipper, I'll get that 10x in return.
Right.
But I've got to give him value first.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well put, Jared. Looks like we got some comments here.
Yeah, a lot going on here. I like that.
I listened to the Power of Habit. Not your best recommendation, Jared.
Dang it.
Your other books were better.
Well, I'm sorry, Michael. I liked it. The other one that I was going to mention was that the Charles Duhigg, I think, was one of them. Boy, I tell you what, the new Brad Jacobs book, Michael, phenomenal. I enjoyed every minute of it. It's funny that he said that, though. Sometimes I tell people about books, and I think my mind works differently when I listen to books. And it just is one of those things where sometimes they're really dry, but I really enjoyed it. And so I apologize, Michael, but I would check out the new Brad Jacobs book. It's a wonderful book, really entertaining. So.
We talk a lot about small carriers connecting with direct shippers, and Associated Mind helps and facilitate that. I'm always looking to improve my sales skills. I'm really liking the show. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for being on it.
Yeah, I mean, Jared hates when I do this, but he's a freaking sales wizard. And I'm very lucky to sit next to this guy and learn. So it kind of keeps me from not having to read a sales book. I can watch it in real life. But he's really good at sales. I remember picking your brain when I first started. Have you always been like this? And you told me no.
Yeah.
You were able to adapt and grow, and like you said, you got better and better each year, right?
You just have to, right? Yeah, you have to be a lifelong student of, I think, communicating and how humans interact and how humans work. You know what I mean? There's a lot of the times you think a lot more about yourself than what maybe other people think about, right?
This right here is so powerful.
No,
your mind is so powerful.
Huge.
There's a theory the longer the call, the more success you will have on the call. Do you believe that?
That's an interesting one, Michael. I need to find this book. There's a book that I read, boy, this would have been a decade ago, but it talks about how many seconds you're on the phone. And if you're over 25 seconds with the decision maker, we're talking not the beginning part, but you're on the phone with the decision maker, and if the call goes for, 2 minutes, here's the percentage chances of your call going longer.
Yeah.
If a call's going longer, in my opinion, you're asking questions that are engaging that person. And I've had a couple calls. I remember this was probably one of the most interesting times. There for a while, I was selling with these two guys that have been in the industry for like 40 years. Both were logistics engineers. Both ran Fortune 100 companies, and they had a different way of thinking. They were wild. I remember doing a sales call with them, just a phone call. This was insane. It lasted 2.5 hours.
Holy cow.
And I was like, are we taking a bathroom break in this thing? Or what are we doing? Of course, I'm just pounding coffee, and I'm just going, I'm like just sitting there listening, going, like, this is it. Like, it was like almost watching like a tennis match being perfectly played. And I was like, this is the greatest sales call of all time. I couldn't believe it. But I do believe that the longer you're engaging them, then absolutely. I think where a lot of people forget to, you got to go from questions to action, and you can't forget about that little touch. It's almost like one of them little things that I had the worst piano teacher. I got to tell you, I had the worst piano teacher. I don't know who's watching the show, but let's just talk about my piano teacher. She had the longest fingernails, and she wouldn't actually touch the friggin' piano keys with her friggin' fingers. She would touch them with her nails. It drove me nuts. But there was this little thing, and it would keep you on beat, right? Mm-hmm. And a sales call is very methodical, beat driven. But when you go from questions to engagement, you've got to include action, right? Yeah. Or that call in that conversation is never going to go anywhere, right? So that's probably the difference between good salespeople and great salespeople is this side. They asked a lot of great questions, but they were incredible at that follow through. Right. I mean, incredible. Like, hey, when should we talk next time? What is it? What works in your schedule that makes the most sense? Even like down to like, what form of communication works best to touch base? Do you want email? Do you want text? Do you want me to pick up the phone? Those little nuances is what makes this hot little thing. Let's see. I took lessons for this week. Yeah, this was the honestly, I'm telling you, that friggin' piano lady changed Phil and I's life.
Oh, that's
in a bad way.
Oh my God.
I'm still terrible at piano. I couldn't pull it across the finish line. I don't know what to tell you. I was brutal. Sorry, I apologize.
Phil, thanks for being here, man.
It is good to have you.
Let me build off this because we're talking sales still, and I had a talk with a couple guys on Tuesday. And we talked about, we pick up the phone. How do we find the shipper's pain points? What questions should I be asking? You talk about your time in sales. What was your way of going about finding their pain points?
Yeah, this is a good question. It used to be a spray and pray for me. Okay. There's a certain extent that certain industries have the same issues, right? I'll give them to you, right? You could ask them, what is it about your close time that you hate? Or what is it about your billing process that you think needs to be improved? Right? Late carriers and bad billing have been literally a cycle since we've been pulling donkeys and wagons. I promise you, there was bad billing back then, right? And so I think that's probably, a couple questions. I would really pay attention to, when you're talking to them, and it used to be that spray and pray concept where I would talk either about billing, late trucks, communication. Hey, what kind of communication are you expecting from each load? Right? And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that is that in some particular cases, when you're a freight broker, holy buckets, we would send like 15-minute friggin' tracking. Well, this guy had 100 loads. Right. What is he doing with that information? Does he need it every 15 minutes? No. right? So we need to make sure that we're adjusting it to them. But once I got away from the spray pray, and I'll give you an example.
Okay.
When I used to spray and pray, I would just say, hey, what is it about your logistics and day-to-day operation that you don't like?
Write that down. If you're here watching, Mohammed, write that down.
Right?
I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Like, what is it that you don't like?
Right. Because you can read their website top to bottom and still kind of ask yourself, what are their pain points?
Right.
Well, I think that's a really good question to kind of start off with. I mean,
Yeah.
depending on what commodity or what that shipper's moving, I think you could still probably find another good question. Maybe they're moving potatoes, and maybe you follow up with a question, something about, are you having a hard time finding carriers that move potatoes, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's just that's really been the question of the week.
Yeah.
How can I find their pain points? What does it sound like? What questions can I ask?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good one, Jared. I don't know if you got a couple more up your sleeve.
I do. I think something that's really important, right, on any sales call is that no matter what, everybody's had their favorite broker until they weren't.
Right.
We've all had that bad trucker, bad broker situation that's come up that's burned somebody.
Right. Oh,
that Christmas Eve friggin' load that didn't go the way we needed it to, right? Nobody's making Christmas Eve service, especially if you've had a few beers, right? I mean, for the love of God, I mean, it's just trucking, right? We're all somewhat aware. But something that I am a big believer in is asking questions around trust.
Okay.
Asking questions around situations that happened, right? And so I like to get them on the phone and say, hey, I know that you're not, let's just give you an example of the shipper says, hey, I don't work with brokers.
Okay.
Right? Acknowledge it, and then try to ask a question around a trust statement. Hey, I know you don't work with trust. You don't work with brokers. What is it about brokers that you had a situation that you struggled with?
Yeah.
And just open it up and let them vent to you. They're going to just destroy brokers. They're going to tell you that you didn't communicate, your trucks were late, your billing was bad, right? They're going to tell you all this stuff. We had a double broker situation. We didn't even know what was going on, right? They're going to just address all those things. Let them vent. And then chat a little bit about your process and how you're preventing that. And then go back into a value trust question, right? And those questions are all around, what is it that their boss, everybody's got a boss. Everyone has to remember this. Everyone has a friggin' boss, right? And no matter what is that boss measuring them on, right? Is it on-time service? Is it keeping costs low? Is it bad billing? Is it, over communicating to the sales team? That shipping manager, the logistics manager, the VP of shipping, whatever it is, he's got things written in his job title that says you have to control these things or you're not going to work here anymore. So your question should be around what his job title is and his friggin', you know what I mean? It has to be.
Right.
You've got to know what their KPIs are, their key performance indicators. And maybe all he cares about is that his trucks get here, they get loaded. He doesn't care about cost. Well, how do you measure your carriers and specifically around cost right now with the market going up and down the way it does? Right? Do you remember 24 months ago, people couldn't find trucks and they were paying an exorbitant amount of money for something that they just paid $700 for 6 months earlier.
Right.
Now they're paying $2,400, right? Finding those little key nuances with shippers is really important.
That's huge, Jared. I love that. That was very good feedback, and like I said, I hope Muhammad's watching because that's huge feedback there and good questions to kind of open up with. And the beauty of sales calls, or cold calling, if you will, if you get off the phone, you're like, "Gosh, dang, I should ask this question."
Yeah.
You learn from that, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. You can always come at it a different angle. Maybe call that shipper next month and come with the right question.
Just try it a little bit differently.
There's Kristen.
Kristen
says she's going to start making calls on Monday. She's putting this out there so she can hold herself accountable. You know what? I love that. You about spilled your coffee there. I love it.
I love it.
I hope it goes good. Give us some feedback. We'd love to touch base with it.
You know what I would do, Kristen? I would. And I don't know how you're making your calls. Okay, if you're making them off of a landline sort of thing, or if it's off your cell phone, just push record and watch yourself. and listen to your questions and have the questions written out, because there's two parts of a sales call that just are sometimes are brutal in the first part and the second part. And what I mean by that is, can you get by the lady that says we're not accepting any brokers right now, and then actually having the conversation with at least what you think is a decision maker, right? Are they the right decision maker, and those things like that? So have questions and stories and conversations at both ends, so you're prepared. Record yourself. I promise you, you'll get better. Yeah.
And if Monday doesn't seem like a good day, I would do for Tuesday. Mondays seem, from the feedback I've gotten from brokers, Mondays seem a little hard for shippers. Everyone's getting back in the office.
Yeah.
You may find a good shipper that has enough time, but
try Monday afternoon. I like
really
Monday
reflect on the days you called and see if those were a good day or not, and switch it up.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Glad you're on, though, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Glad you're on.
Aren't you glad you're not a broker right now? This is the worst market ever.
Yeah, I know, Michael. Man, I tell you what, here's what I love about you, is that you are consistently trying to learn, consistently trying to grow. I hope you're doing that with your sales process, and that you're always asking questions. And man, I tell you what, I know it's rough. I get it. In fact, I made calls with a brokerage locally here yesterday just to kind of hear how things were going, just so we can keep our foot on either the gas or the brakes, or maybe it's just the clutch for a little bit. Just stay consistent, Michael. And I know, and it's rough, man. It really is. I would recommend sending us a recording. Let me hear you. Let me see how you're doing things and what questions you're asking. Send us a recording. Email at support@ecarriercheck.com. We'll give you 3 to 5 things that we love that way you did, and 3 to 5 things that we would just recommend changing a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, and yeah, we really do like your questions. So, here's another good one. How often do you follow up after that first call? Weekly, a week, bi-weekly?
Yeah, what would you do? Yeah, absolutely. The difference between success and failure is just a little bit of discipline, right? And I would, once I had that call, and remember we talked about this earlier, with the piano, right? The piano teacher, and this part of the action side of it. Once I figured out this side of it, the action side of it, I started to, my weekly follow-ups got more intentional, because I understood when they wanted to be and how they wanted to be communicated with, right? If I haven't gotten anywhere, I'm also doing this on emails and voicemails, okay? Hey, I'm going to follow up with you Thursday at 2:00, and I did it, right? Hey, I found this article about, fuel. How much does this impact your business? Do you guys have a fuel table and accessorials, right? Like, I'm just asking questions. The follow-up thing, you know what else I hated, by the way? One of my things that I hate talking about is, hey, we talked 6 months ago, and I'm just following back up. Here's how I would reword that statement, okay? Because I hear this a lot. Hey, we talked like 3 months ago. I would say, hey, we've talked in the past, and logistics and supply chains are changing every day. I know you weren't open at that particular time, but I would love to just at least have a conversation about logistics and what's working for you.
Yeah, for sure. I had this written down here,
but to answer your question real quick,
yeah,
I do follow up weekly, and then it depends on if I didn't talk to them, they're on next week, right? And the week after, until I get them, or at least until I talk to somebody to find out if it's actually a lead or it's something to do, right? So weekly there. Once you talk to them, though, right? Then I try to make sure I'm on this side of that friggin' swing and know when they want us to talk to them, right? So that from there, then it's if they go ghost on you, if they go cold on you, send them a handwritten letter, send them an article, send them a newspaper article. I mean, cut something out of the USA Today and say, I wonder how much this is affecting you. Your favorite freight broker, mail. Right. I
love that. That's something I kind of wrote down too, Michael. Kind of goes hand in hand. How to not, if you sometimes you feel like you might be too annoying. You know what I mean?
You
kind of feel like that sometimes.
Michael, here was something else too. I'll give you a little trade secret. This one's out of the chest, okay? When I'm finishing up the call and I'm on this side of it, okay, and we're talking about when to get together next, okay? I'm a big believer in trigger words, okay? Find something unique about yourself. whatever that is. I see that you have a cowboy hat on in this picture. I don't know if you have that cowboy hat in your signature line, but people like to see who they're working with, by the way. So always put your pictures in your signature lines if you're not watching. Or if you're watching just signature line, be expressive. People want to know who you are, right? It's a world of social media. They're going to look you up, I promise. But I would do trigger words. This is a big deal because I would get people to remember me by trigger words. And what I mean by that is I would always say, hey, I'm the only guy you've talked to from Nebraska today. So in the subject line, when I follow back up with you, the word Nebraska is going to be in there. And I would leave it at that. And they're like, oh, okay, that sounds good. They get hundreds of emails. I got to stand out somehow. Find a trigger word that works for you. Maybe it's guy in a hat. Maybe you talk about horses. Maybe you talk about, the friggin' local basketball team, whatever it is, right? Trigger words, emails, then they connect to you. There you go.
LinkedIn's very powerful.
Huge.
You can see what they're liking, see what they're into, see what their struggles are. And if they're liking an article that reflects on their company, that's a big one too. I think subscribing to people like Samantha Jones as well. She has a newsletter. You can read some really good, incredible feedback on there to just kind of help you think differently, maybe go about things differently.
Right.
Subscribe to her too. That's a great newsletter.
Yeah. We did a video in regards to how to get a shipper without picking up the phone.
Right.
It's a great video. I'd definitely go back and find that in the old category. So let's keep rolling.
I love it. Well, Jared, do you have anything for everyone else who are watching? It looks like we got about 5 people left on today. Thank you for being here. If you like the video and the content, subscribe. And then like Jared said, send us some emails who you'd like us to bring on.
Yeah.
We'll go out fishing for them and try to bring them on. We want to provide as much value to our eCarrier Check community as we can.
Yeah.
So
here would be my only suggestions for the people that are watching or that watch this video. Next week is beginning of February. Go back through your calendar and look at how intentional you were with your time. Okay? And what I mean by that is if you didn't set time to be cold calling, I don't care if you're at home or at an office, or if you didn't set time to be following up, you've got to be intentional. And if you haven't got a client yet, set time to do other things, right? There's a lot of people that call us and they're like, I don't have a client yet. Well, call 20 carriers today. They pick up the phone normally. And they can build up an interesting conversation, right? They can teach you things. So look at last month and say, okay, how much of my time did I spend in outreach? How much of my time did I spend in learning? How much of my time did I spend in follow-up, right? And take that time because next week, we already went through 30 days of a year. Right. Is my pipeline gelled up, yes or no?
I love it, Jared.
So those are the questions you need to be asking yourself. Check out eCarrier Check, though. Obviously we're a sourcing platform where we provide you, you can find carriers, you can find brokers on there. I haven't even talked about carriers today. I feel bad. We'll talk about that later. And then we can help you find shippers, right? And we can help you find shippers that actually the right type of equipment so you can have the right conversation. And we can even tell you, or we can tell pretty quickly if they're using brokers.
Right.
Simple as that.
Yeah. I love it, Jared. Thank you for your time. It's always good to pick your brain because, like I said, you have some interesting stories and background that a lot of people don't know about. So we're going to continue to share his story, my story, eCarrier Check's story.
Yeah.
We all got a story.
Everybody.
We all got whys. So we really appreciate you guys for being here.
Yeah.